Where did you grow up?
In Sacramento. Do you want me to elaborate?
Yeah, sure. Where'd you grow up, start skating?
Yeah. So I grew up in Sacramento, born in '63, so by '83 I was 20, so that was like the prime. And
What part of Sacramento?
I grew up in Carmichael.
Okay.
Out by
Near Rosemont?
No, by the Tower Records that was out there on Watt Avenue.
Okay.
So a lot of the early thrashers and early punk mags and stuff I got from that.
Okay.
From that, and a lot of the early punk records I got from that record store.
Oh, okay.
And then magazines from the magazine store. They had a magazine store too.
Okay.
So that's where I grew up out there.
And the skate spots that you started skating in Sacramento?
The very first ones were the skate parks. One was called Rainbow Wave. It was out on Sunrise or off of Sunrise Boulevard. And then there was Sierra Wave, and that was off of, gosh, I can't think of the name of the street. I think it was in Rancho Cordova, maybe. And then Skateboard Palace was my main one, and that was in Carmichael. Now, when I started skating, they were all closed, you know.
Really?
Yeah, they had closed already.
Why did they close them? Because insurance reasons, or?
I think that skateboarding was just dying. You know, it had a boom in the 70s, and then by the late 70s it had died, and so the parks closed, but they were still there, you know.
Did you guys still skate them, or?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Is that where you learned to skate a lot of
pretty much
heavy vert stuff?
Pretty much,
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then when those got bulldozed, we started finding pools. There were pools everywhere, and then I got a job working at this only skate shop in town at the time, High Roller, on L Street, and all kinds of kids would come in and say, "Hey, my neighbor's pool's empty." So it was like a treasure trove of pools in Sacramento, and I think there was a drought at the time too. So we skated a lot of pools, and then started building ramps.
Okay.
And we'd go to ditches too. We skate whatever we could. You know. There wasn't a whole lot, but what there was, we found and skated.
When did you first start getting noticed by any sort of sponsor?
Probably, gosh, I'm so bad with exact years. I'd say like 84, this guy from San Francisco contacted me. His name was Carlos. He owned a company called Fogtown. They did the Bored to Death board, and asked me if I wanted to ride for him, and of course I was like, yeah. And so I got sponsored by them. And through that, he approached me. He said, "Hey, you know, this company Tracker Trucks is looking for riders in Northern California. Do you want to ride for Tracker?" And so I said, "Yeah, sure." You know, because I'd seen pictures of like Neil Blender, Caballero. Well, I'd skated with Caballero, but he rode Trackers. Neil Blender rode Trackers. Hosoi, everybody rode Trackers. The old guys rode Indies, you know, and the new, like, hot guys rode Trackers.
They were lighters, I recall.
They
had plastic base.
They had plastic base plates. Right. They had magnesium trucks as well. So they were light. They didn't turn so good. True, they didn't. But
really?
But by then we were skating mostly vert ramps.
So they better.
It didn't matter
for vert rather than street.
Yeah.
Okay. And you became a amateur for Fogtown?
For Fogtown, yeah.
And how long was it?
That lasted about a year, and then the company fizzled.
Okay.
Something to do with the owner being shady.
I vaguely remember the Beast or something like that.
Yeah, there was the Fogtown. There was the Bored to Death was the first one, and then they did the Van Gogh. It was like a skull smoking, and then they did the Beast, and that was it.
Okay.
Done.
And the Beast, I got 1 year.
Oh yeah.
I vaguely remember that. My friend remembers it more than I do.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
That's funny. Yeah, it's funny how people. Well, this might be for later, but people come to me all the time and they're like, "Man, I remember I had one of your boards." And I'm like, "Really?" You know, it just kind of shocks me a little bit.
Yeah.
And they remember every little detail about the graphics, and I'm like,
"See, I forgot."
I don't even remember. You know.
Right. It's interesting. I forgot about all the details.
I remember from when I was younger, before the '80s, like all the Dogtown boards, you know, and all those. I remember those more and can, you know.
Those boards just more or less just have like the name of the company on them, like all the does.
No, they had graphics.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, and they're really wide, you know, really big, and then the punk graphics started coming out, like the Santa Cruz had a bunch of like Dwayne Peters.
That's right.
Everyone in Sacramento for a couple years rode Dwayne Peters boards.
Interesting.
Yeah. Everyone. I have photos, and every single person, there'll be like a set of photos from a ramp session, and every single person is riding
Dwayne Peters. That's interesting. What did you do when you were an amateur?
Skated contests, ramp contests, and street contests started to happen.
How long were you an amateur before you went pro?
Not very long, like a year,
Okay.
maybe 2 years. Yeah.
Did
Not very
Blockhead pick you up after?
Yeah, then Blockhead came to me and said, "Hey, we want to do a pro model," and they'd been doing a lot of just regular boards, and they wanted to do a pro model, but he wanted to do it with somebody from the area, and so he chose me.
Where were they from?
Roseville.
Really? They were just created out of Roseville.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
who was the main person?
Dave Bergthold
Okay.
is the main guy.
Okay.
So I had skated with him, and I knew him and his whole crew, and I liked what they were doing. He was making boards. He was screening them in his garage and shipping them out of his garage, doing everything out of his parents' garage. So he was like a lot of people are into these skater-owned companies. Like skater-owned companies are legit. He's the first one. Well, maybe Paul Schmidt in Florida, Schmidt Sticks,
Sure.
was first, and then Dave was second.
Okay.
There's a lot of argument about who was first.
Interesting.
But
Okay.
I think Schmidt was first.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, I liked the boards. I liked what they were doing. The art was different. It was neat. It was kind of punk, weirdo, new wave. I was into it. So yeah.
Interesting. It seemed that was a new thing that was happening at that time. People were starting to make their own kind of companies.
Yeah,
You had like major companies like Vision or Powell, then you had smaller.
Yeah, a lot of smaller companies were coming out. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very
And Dave was one of the first.
Okay.
One of the first ones. And then he got kind of big, but stayed small at the same time. Yeah.
Interesting. Who were some of the other writers that you had?
Oh gosh, you have so many. I mean, everyone from that area who was good was on Blockhead.
Really?
And then there were people that he would sponsor further out that I didn't even really know about back then.
Okay.
Amateurs mostly.
Okay.
Really good skaters. I can't remember a lot of them.
Other names?
Yeah, but
Snaggle
like
or-
Ron, well, from the Sacramento area, Ron Cameron, who did all the art for Blockhead.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know this, but he's super good skater. Even today, is still really good. Yeah.
I think I remember him like the Go Skate
Yeah.
ramp thing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's super good skater, and still, that's the thing is like all these guys that Dave sponsored and all the guys in the crew were, hardcore skaters for life. They were lifers. They still are. They're still skating. They're not. It's not like they turn pro or whatever to get money and travel and get chicks or whatever, and then once that was done, they quit.
Sure.
No, all those guys still skate. Everyone who was on the Blockhead universe, still skates today.
Okay.
Which I think is pretty
Wow.
cool.
That's cool. Interesting. And what brought you to the Davis ramp? Who did you know in Davis?
In Davis, I knew Ron Allen. I met him at another ramp. Oh shoot! You know what? I have photos of that other ramp too, and it was in Davis, but I didn't bring them.
Sorry, you can send them to me.
I'll take photos and send them.
Yeah.
But I met Ron Allen at a ramp in Davis, and
Is that when
he
you
was
first met him?
Yeah, that's when I first met him. Well, actually, no, I met him before, but he was kind of like, he was just doing his own thing,
Yeah.
and I didn't really know who he was. He was just like a guy who would show up, and then I got to talking to him at this one ramp, and we became friends then.
Huh.
So Ron Allen, Steve Bryant, he was a school teacher, I believe,
Okay.
in Davis, maybe high school,
Okay.
and he, I think, had something to do with building the ramp in Davis.
Okay.
Not sure.
Okay.
He was also in a bunch of bands.
Do you remember any of the names of the bands?
Wonderful Broken Thing was
Okay.
one of them.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And there were others too. And then who else from Davis? Oh, Tim and Cody Lane.
Okay.
I believe were from Davis.
Yeah.
Were they?
Yeah.
because I remember
They
going
were
to
my
their...
age. I went to high school with them.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
So I remember going to their house, Tim and Cody Lane, crazy punk rock kids, right? Insane punk rock. Like, I thought I was punk. They went to their house. Their bedroom had like graffiti spray painted all on the walls, on the ceiling, and stickers like holes in the walls and stuff. Crazy. And they were super cool.
You met their mom?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mom had made you a remedy or something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really cool. Those guys were just, priceless kids. Super rad. And that's pretty much what Sacramento and Davis was about, all these people who just, they were all skaters. They were all a little bit different, but everyone fit in, because through skating. It's pretty rad.
When do you remember meeting Ricky Windsor?
Oh, yeah. Well, before we got into skateboarding, me and Ricky, we dabbled in skateboarding a little bit, but we rode BMX bikes.
Really?
Yeah.
So you knew each other before then, skateboarding?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So I would go out to this place, and there were some dirt jumps, and Rick showed up one day, and he was this little scrawny little kid, and he had a rat tail that was like halfway down his back, and then the front of his hair was all spiky and shaved on the side, kind of like the guy from Kiefer Sutherland in Lost Boys, like that kind of haircut, He's gonna be so pissed if he ever sees this. But so yeah, so he's this little punk kid, and I'm like, who's this little punk kid? Because no one had their hair cut like that. You get your ass kicked, because this is early, like 1980,
Right.
And anyway, so he would show up, and I met him. I had to go up and talk to him. Hey, man, what's your deal? And he said he rode skateboards, and then shortly after that, we just stopped riding bikes completely and just skated. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
You guys do any contests together, or?
Yeah, over the years we traveled a lot together. We'd go to street contests, and then when he turned pro, we would travel together a lot.
Okay.
Go to contests.
Interesting.
And demos. Back then they had these demos that were basically like contests, but there was no competition. It was just like a giant arena filled with kids, and we'd just skate, out in the middle.
So kind of like the Sacramento parking lot competition.
Well, that was a contest more like the Cow Skates demo in Ohio.
Okay.
There were quite a few of those.
Okay.
Like big demos, where skateboarding was so huge back then. At a certain point in the '80s, they could sell out a whole arena.
I see.
And just pay skaters to come and skate around.
Put a car out there or whatever.
And some ramps and some curbs and a random thing to ollie over or whatever.
Interesting. Okay. Let's see.